Nada. All right, so we're live. All right, thanks for who all decided to join this quick, well maybe not so quick, podcast screen share informational tutorial video. We have GiGi, MsCnotes, who is going to share some of her knowledge as far as credit repair and how to get back on the right track so people can live the life that they want to live, and then also book some trips with me. What's up, GiGi?
Hi, Jamar. How are you?
I am well. How about you? Or did you just
I
answer that?
I ran out of time today.
Yeah, I see. Technical issues. All good. All right. So I guess just to kind of get started and to kind of like go over this, can you give the audience like a summary of what it is that you do, your services, like what all you offer?
Okay. So I do credit repair and I do credit repair and I do business credit, I do personal funding and I do business funding. And I've been doing it for a few years. I started doing credit repair myself because I was married to a gambler, and when he and I separated, all the debt that he and I had fell in my laps, so I couldn't afford to pay any of the debt, and I struggled to feed my kids and my dog, so I ended up I think I started off with a like in the mid fives, and then once I was able to get back on my feet, I worked on my actually paid somebody to do my credit. And after a couple months of not seeing any results, I have a very competitive mindset. So what I did is I started reading laws, and I learned the laws that protect us against debt collection, and then the reporting from the financial institutions. So I ended up fixing my credit, and I went from the mid fives to the high eights, or I mean to the to the 800s in 6 months.
In
So
six
now I
months?
yes, so now that's when I didn't know the stuff that I know now. So if I would have known the stuff that I know now back then, it would have been a lot faster.
Okay. So you said you mentioned some of the laws that are out there. Like, what are a couple laws that you weren't aware of before that actually have helped some of your clients now?
So there is I wish I would have had the list of laws in front of me. Um there are I don't have them in front of me, Jamar.
Okay.
But if you look up the FCRA, essentially, we have to give permission to the financial institutions to report any accounts to the bureaus. And
Mm-hmm.
when we're applying for credit, we don't do that. We don't give the financial institutions permission. So that falls under the permissible purpose law. And then let's say an account gets reinserted after it gets deleted. So if an account gets reinserted, they have 5 days. They, being the bureaus, have 5 days to let us know that the accounts were reinserted and the reason that they were reinserted for. And then if we ask them to basically tell us who certified that, who basically said that the account has been verified as accurate, they need to provide us the name of that individual. If they don't follow that, then they're breaking the law. And essentially, we're able to get anywhere from $200 to $2,500 per law that they violate.
Really?
Yeah, that's extra money. Not only that, let's say that you have a collection agency that's calling you. So once the debt gets let's say I'm gonna just say that you're Wells Fargo, and
Mm-hmm.
I've owed you money for the past 6 months. So now you came to the conclusion that you're not gonna get anything out of me. I can't pay it. So now that debt is charged off. So now, because Wells Fargo is in the business of making money and losing money, what they're going to do is they're going to turn around and tell the IRS that I wasn't able to pay the debt. So what the IRS does at that point is they go ahead and they make a credit on that account. Once the IRS makes a credit on the account, then that debt is considered paid in full. So what the financial institutions do in order to get more money is they sell that debt to collection agencies for pennies on the dollar. So now you have collection agencies trying to collect the full amount that you owe in addition to any admin fees, right, that associated to that account.
Okay. All right. So like one of the things that you said earlier that you actually provide business funding. So I know a lot of people that travel, a lot of them they're either expats, they're starting their own online businesses. So what is it that you do to help get them business funding?
Okay, so in order to be able to get like high limit cards, because essentially that's what you're shooting for, you have to have at least a 720 and then no blemishes on your credit report. So what I do is if you have any negatives on there, any high utilization, any charge-offs, collections, bankruptcies, any late payments on there, I remove those accounts so you're able to maximize that inquiry, that hit that you get whenever you're applying for funding. So I essentially make sure that you have a good credit score. And all my people, if they do everything I ask them to do, they're going to end up in the mid sevens.
How often do people not do what you tell them to do?
A lot of the time, like I probably had maybe like 3 clients today that I had to call because they saw their score bump up like 50, 70, 100 points, and then they went and applied for a card or a credit card, something, right? So I see an inquiry on the report and I know what they're doing. So I'll call them and I'll let them know like, hey, you can't apply for anything. And they get denied because there's still blemishes on the report, but because they see that their score is like in the mid sixes, they feel like they can go off and apply, and no, you can't. You're still gonna get denied.
Okay. All right. So we had somebody jump in the room real quick, and their question is, can you remove bankruptcy?
Yes. Okay. So as far as the bankruptcies go, the only items that should be reported to the bureaus are items that are being sent from the financial institutions to the bureaus. Bankruptcies are not being sent to the bureaus. What the bureaus are doing is they're going and they're getting the information from the bankruptcies on a website, public website that's called Pacer. So they go in there and they get the information for everybody who's filed bankruptcy, and then they take that information and then that's what they use to put on the credit report.
So, okay, wait a minute, because I guess maybe I was misinformed, because with bankruptcies, can anybody's bankruptcy be removed, or is there a certain time period?
No, everybody's bankruptcies can get removed. No bankruptcy. It's illegal to have bankruptcies on the credit report. Okay. That's why, that's how we're able to remove these bankruptcies, because it's illegal. And then the way that, if you ask, I'm gonna just tell you guys, if you go to the courthouse, walk into the courthouse, the bankruptcy courthouse, and ask them to give you the information that they sent to the bureaus, they will literally give you a letter that says that they don't give any information to the bureaus. So now if they're not giving any information to the bureaus, how is it that the bureaus are getting the bankruptcy information? They're getting it from that public website called Pacers to get the information, and that's how they add those accounts to our credit reports.
Okay. So typically, if you have a bankruptcy, if somebody has a bankruptcy and they have it removed, how soon will they see an increase in their credit score?
Okay, so as soon as it gets removed, as soon as the bureaus remove the bankruptcy, you're gonna see the score bump up immediately.
Okay.
And then considering if there's no other negative accounts on the credit report, you're gonna see maybe like a 50 to 100 point difference.
50 to 100 point difference?
Yes, bankruptcies hinder your report dramatically.
Okay. All right. So back to the business funding. Now you said that with business funding it's recommended that you have a 720 or higher score.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is a target score for a regular person that's not seeking business funding, but they are just a person that is trying to like maybe purchase a house? They're just trying to like put themselves into a better situation.
So I tell all my people to not apply for anything until they have a 720, regardless of what they're trying to do. If you're trying to get a mortgage, I'm partnered up with a few loan officers. So what they say is that you have to have at least a 740 in order to get the better rate. So
Okay.
for mortgages, you have to have a 740, and then for credit cards, at least a 720. And when you have a 720, that means that's telling me that your score's still low because we're shooting to have an 800, but at least you might have like a late payment from years ago,
Mhm.
and you don't have any, any charge-offs or collections on there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 720 recommended 740 before they really start applying for anything major. What about credit cards?
I do the same thing, 720. But everybody, for the most part, everybody that comes through me is gonna end up in the mid sevens, if
Mhm.
not high sevens. So
Okay.
once we're done, they're able to typically just start applying for cards.
Okay. So a lot of people have different things on their credit. Some of them hospital bills, some of them is like debt collection type stuff. What are some things that you find that most people think that they can't get removed that you can?
Okay, that's everything on their credit report. It's like, so let's say a lot of the people that I'm dealing with right now, Jamar, is people that were impacted heavily because of COVID and then the recession. So their cards are maxed out, right? So high utilization cards or even lines of credit can get removed. I remove those accounts. And then what happens is that, yes, the financial institutions are going to close the accounts down, meaning you're not going to be able to use them, but it's not like you can use them right now because they're maxed out, right?
Mhm.
So once I remove them, your score is going to jump up. And then if you do things right, then you'll be able to apply for more cards or get another line of credit and then use that to create another form of income.
Okay. Mm.
And I mean, everybody that like I do credit repair to, I can more or less know if a person has like they went through a rough patch or if it's a
Mhm.
lifestyle, So when I go through the report, I do ask them like, hey, you just need to come up with a way to not end up in the situation that you are coming to me with, because otherwise you're going to be a repeat customer. Not that I
Right.
mind it, but I don't want them to.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about like somebody defaulting on their mortgage or evictions?
Those can get removed. So evictions, those pop up on the secondary bureaus, but they can get removed. If they defaulted on the mortgage, usually that comes out as late payments on there, and mortgages can get removed. I went as far as I wanted to just test my waters. And when I moved here, I went as far as removing the active mortgage that I have in a different state, just to
Mm.
see if I could get through the loan processing, the underwriting, without having them notice. They found out about it, but I removed an active mortgage from my credit report. So, and nothing's going to happen so long as you continue to make the payments on time, because they have the loan secured with a house.
Mhm.
So the same thing with a car note. If you've been late on the car and I remove that account, nothing is going to happen. Your car is not going to get repoed so long as you continue making the payments on time, because that car loan is secured with the car, and they're not going to mess with you unless you stop paying on the car.
Okay, now so take that for an example. Somebody stops paying on their car, they have to give the car back, or they come and get the car or whatnot.
Mhm.
That's going to hit, and I'm assuming really impact their credit score. How soon would they have to wait to try to get something like that removed off their credit?
We can do it immediately. There's like no time frame. If let's say that so you're not, a late is not late until 30 days after. So if you look at your credit report, it's gonna say you've been late 30 days, 1, 2, 3, 6 times, right?
Hmm.
If you've been late 60 times or 60 days X amount of times, and 90 days X amount of times, right? So a late is not late until 30 days after the payment due date. So if it's before that, if it's like 15 days after the payment due date, then all they're going to do is they're going to tack on a late fee, but they're not going to report that account as late.
Okay, so they won't report it as late.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's crazy. So a lot of people usually think they got to wait on stuff to fall off their credit,
No.
but honestly, they can go in there and have stuff removed. They just got to have somebody to be able to do it for them.
Jamar, nobody should be walking around with anything under a 720. And it took me I didn't know any better. And a lot of us growing up were not taught anything about finances.
Hmm.
So we learned by getting slapped on the face. So when I had a shitty score, I couldn't move into a different house. Like I was in a horrible marriage. I couldn't jump into a different house. I couldn't I couldn't do anything. I was stuck.
Hmm.
And that's when I had to get like multiple jobs in order to be able to like feed my kids. Like nobody wants to do that. But
Right.
when I started reading the FCRA and I started reading the laws that protect us as consumers, then my world changed. Like so many doors opened, and we walk around with a shitty score for so long, such a long time because we're not educated. But no,
Hmm.
you don't have to have a bad score.
Okay. All right. So you have all the tools to help somebody in order to improve their score and set themselves up for a brighter future. So one of the questions that I wanted to bring up on this was the whole manufacturer spending that we had talked about before. So explain, what is manufacturer spending?
So basically, what you're doing is you're cycling money through the credit cards in order to increase the credit limits on the cards that you have or to get points. And then you use those points for travel, you use those points for free hotel stays, free flights, statement credits. So essentially, you're just cycling the money through your cards, you're taking it out of your credit card and then depositing it into the bank, and then you're taking it from the bank and then making a payment on the card. So in order, let's say that you have a $10,000 card and you're trying to get a credit limit increase, you're able to request a credit limit increase, a CLI, every 3 months. But
Mm-hmm.
in order for you to be able to get a CLI, you have to have the foundation. So let's say that you have a $10,000 card and you've only been using $1,000 of the card, and then you request a CLI. They're gonna be like, no, you still have $9,000 to use. Why would I give you a credit limit increase? But if you do manufacturer spending, if you're taking the money out of the card and then depositing it into your bank account, you do that multiple times a month. Now you have the foundation to call Navy Federal, call Amex or whomever it is and ask them for a CLI. And now they're going to be like, okay, you know what? You have been using this card more often, or you have
Mm-hmm.
been maxing it out and you've been paying it down. So we're going to go ahead and give you another $5,000, another $10,000. So essentially that's what you do. Like you manufacture spend, you take the money out of the card and then you deposit it into the bank. And there's different ways to do that. Like you can connect a payment processing account to your credit card, or you can go buy products from a store and return them, and then whenever you return them, instead of putting in the credit card that you use, you put in the debit card that's
Mm-hmm.
linked to your bank account. So there's just many ways to take the money out.
So by doing this, like you said earlier, it allows you to rack up probably a whole bunch of points. And
Mm-hmm.
so those points can be used as cash back, and that can like pay for bills, or you can definitely take advantage of any kind of bonuses that are out there. So like for me, I use all the sign up bonuses that I get my hands on to travel for free.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of time my flights are free, a lot of time my hotels may be free, or just like I had the venture card recently and they reimbursed me for like the hotel or the airlines that I had just recently purchased,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're doing manufacturer spending, so I'm looking at it from a consumer standpoint, but is this also good for businesses to use? Like somebody that has a small business?
Yes, because ideally, what everybody should do, even if they don't know what type of business they want, is to start a business. You just create a business, make make it a generalized name like a consulting or legacy or just something general. And then what you can do is, if your credit score is right, meaning it's above 720, you don't have any blemishes on the report, then you're able to use that business to apply for funding. So essentially, you're able to get at the very minimum $150,000, like between your person and the business. And now you're using this money from the credit cards to buy houses, to build houses, to go to travel, to create another form of income. I had people buy semis. I've had people buy cars for Turo. I've had people buy houses. There's people that build houses. It's just insane the stuff that you can do with a credit card. A credit card is more than just swiping it at the store. There's money
Okay.
in.
Okay. So can you touch on, because I know that's another one of the things that you do with the building houses or somebody that's getting into like the real estate with the whole credit card aspect of it.
Mhm.
How does that work?
How does what work? Like what part?
So being able to use a credit card in order to fund building a house or renovating property
Okay.
and not coming out of pocket solely for it.
So my partner, he's at Andy Buy Houses on Instagram. He builds houses using credit cards. So he will take the money out and start. He uses. There's like different phases in the building aspect. So on the first phase, he'll take the money out of the cards and then use that for that to complete the first phase. And then he'll go through the second phase, and then he'll use a hard money lender, and then he'll eventually refi the whole loan. And the way that he explains it, and I think you might have to have him on your live here. The way that he explains it is every build that he does, you are guaranteed to make $100,000 in profit. And that's if you follow his blueprint.
Okay. So I want to backtrack and go to the beginning of all of it. So, and I also want you to plug yourself and your business here as well. So what are the steps if somebody wants to work with you in order to start working on their credit and get to that 720, 740 score, either to do manufacturer spending, buy a house? What's the first step in the process after that they need to go through with you?
If their credit report is right, or this is just like a clean person off the street.
Clean person off the street, and they need to get in contact with you to get this process started.
So they can get in contact with me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on all social media platforms. Well, my face is there. In all social media platforms. And it's MsCnotes, MsCnotes. And you can DM me, or you can text ready to 404-458-0893. And we'll start a consultation. Basically, I'll go over your credit report, and then we'll come up with a plan of attack on the accounts that I'm going to remove. And I'm going to, if you have high utilization, then I'll go over the accounts that you have and see if you're able to pay them down to under 10%. The majority of my people, initially they'll be like, yeah, I can pay it down, I can pay the cards down, but they're emotionally attached to the card. But eventually, like, I end up just removing them all. So then we go over the credit report. We come up with a plan of attack. I go through the process of disputing. I do have a team that works with me. So once we're done, they'll let you know that we're done, and then you're free to apply.
Okay. So I don't want to have anybody thinking that this is like an overnight process. So a reasonable time frame, and be generous with it, to get somebody, and let's assume that they're the worst of the worst when it comes to their credit, a reasonable time frame to get them where they need to be. Okay.
So it's I can't tell you an exact time, but I can tell you that within 2 to 3 weeks of working with me, you're going to be able to see your score jump. I've had clients that have had their scores jump over 100 points in 30 days. I've had clients that have had their scores jump in over 100 points in 45 days. So it just depends on how fast the bureaus process the disputes, and then the type of accounts, or not the type of accounts, but the lenders that I'm working with, I'm disputing. Any lenders can come off, but then there's some lenders that are more difficult than others, like Navy Federal. Navy Federal is so good that if you owe them money, they're not going to charge off that account. You're not going to be getting calls from the collection agencies. They have an in-house collection department, so they're going to hold on to that debt because they know that you're going to come back. They know that you're going to come back and try to get more of their services. So whenever you go back and you apply for a credit card, they're automatically going to deny you because you owe them money. So you have to pay them every single penny if you want to get any credit from them in the future. And they're not going to sell their debt to anybody.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's good to know. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Once again, can you drop your Instagram and also your contact information for everybody?
Yes. How do I do that?
You just go ahead and say it.
Oh, it's MsCnotes, and it's MsCnotes, and on all social media platforms. Especially, I'm heavy on Instagram.
Okay, cool. And if I get anybody contacting me, I'll forward them your way. And we may have to do this again, just in case we got people that ask questions. But this was good. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Gigi.
Bye.
Bye.